Morning. Right, here we are in my studio. That there is the portrait done by Janusz Pietroika. Not sure of how I say that. Let's just zoom you in. Got to find a home for that. That's the YouTube demonstration he did, and it arrived this morning by post from Poland. So thank you, Janusz. There's Freddy the cat used to spend a lot of time trying to stay on my lap when I was painting about a year or so ago, over a year ago. So around the studio, that there is a reflecting telescope. I made the mirror for that, a 6-inch reflector years ago. It's an old fridge, the camping fridge we used to use. It helps out at Christmas and other busy times when we've got a lot of food in the house. So we've got washing, drying on airers. There we are. It's freezing cold outside. YouTube demos, paintings, what I done. A Venice painting there. Sort of an impressionist landscape there. Paintings under there. This is in my loft. It's a lovely room we had made 30 years ago. Got a shower room as well. That is through there on a nice generous landing. That's my work desk. So I'm lucky to have this space. So my tripod. I'm going to put the camera on there in a minute. So that's my blank sheet of paper, the Fabriano, £130, which I'm going to be using in a moment. My box easel. Got various easels there. There's a studio radial easel there, and there's my Herring and Son metal easel. Spare trays, butcher's tray, halogen heater for when it gets really cold up here. I don't have the heating on all day. Oil paints, which I haven't used for a long time. Mostly 200mm tubes. Bookcase with a load of stamp collecting books, which I used to do as a lad. Art books below that Venice painting, which wasn't very good. There's so much wrong with that one. I'll never repaint it. An old television which we don't use. It still works, but it's got a video player on it, and that's quite rare now. And a Freeview box. And under the eaves, behind that door, I've got loads and loads of paintings stashed away. It's under the roof space. Ron Ranson watercolour book, highly recommended. Another big brush watercolour. There's another one somewhere. Roland Hilda, calendars, all reference material. But these days, I mostly work from my own imagination, such as it is. Some mounts there that I put on the finished videos. But we'll have another look at me as Sean Connery, highly flattered, of course. This is a really great effort by Janusz. Probably painting the landscape there from Freddy the cat. Okay, so I think enough of that. Now, apologies for making you dizzy, but I've got to plug the camera into the mains. So I'm going to stop in halfway through the video. So sorry about this. And then put it back up here. This is my little setup. Right, there we are. So, whoops, we're now looking at the ceiling. One day maybe I'll have a good setup here with a boom, so I can have the camera above my head, straight in front, looking down. But as it is, we've got the board at about 45 degrees, mainly for the camera. I try to show as much of the picture as possible. Right, okay, now, no idea what to paint. We've got some clean water. If you're looking for these online, they're called on eBay in UK, food display trays. And the size of these ones, you can use the big ones, the big butcher's type trays. is, I'll give you the overall size, is 31 centimetres by 24 centimetres. It's a very handy size, it's very portable. Bit of cloth in my the tray of my box, my travelling easel. So we've got the 2-inch hake, or 45 mils, which is somewhat less than 2 inches. The rigger, number 3 rigger. So a couple of flats, 1.5 inch, 1 inch, and a half-inch flat. Various bits and pieces. Cards for scraping out rocks and highlights. So we'll wet the paper all over. Probably do another mountainy type scene. I'm not sure, but fairly low horizon. I love skies, so my skies are most of the picture. You can leave some bits and pieces unpainted, and if you're doing houses, you can paint, you can wet around the houses if you want to. Right, we'll warm up everything with a bit of sienna, bit of raw sienna. Remember, whatever you put on dries a lot nicer than when you put it on, so you have to make allowances for that. Right, let's put in a bit of blue, bit of ultramarine. I'm going to put some water down there, so that would be a bit of the water. So ultramarine, no, not ultramarine, Payne's Grey and alizarin. That was Ron Ranson's favourite cloud colour, I think. My favourite is really ultramarine and night red, but it doesn't matter. I'll make a little bit of that darker for the shadow. Right, let's have that water reflecting down there. And we'll put a little bit of blue in that water, I think. Just to show that bit of sky coming across there. Right, okay, that'll do. That's our basic sky in. Basic wash. I'll give it a dry. I just want to take off the excess moisture from the bottom of the page. Otherwise it will dry back up the page and it will create some sort of oasis. Just a little bit there. Now we'll just reclip to keep it flat. As it expands, just reclip it. Just take the clips off. These two are the largest clips, document clips, and the other two. It's whatever I've got at hand really. Okay, so that is now perfectly flat. I'll give the painting a bit of a dry. So mute now. I tend not to dry it bone dry. I want a bit of diffuse background. So we'll just put in a bit. Okay, so that'll do. Now we'll put in a bit of warmer colour there. Just making up this foreground here, or middle distance. Okay, so there we've got a distance, and we'll something like just add lots of colour in this bit of Payne's Grey. Payne's Grey is a very useful colour, but not used on its own. It's great for mixing with ultramarine and burnt sienna. Right, let's just put in a bit of dark on here. Okay, right, we're a bit too similar over there, so we'll take that up there and change that side so that it's different from the one opposite. We don't want to create a lot of symmetrical stuff competing with each other. We want things to be different. Okay, I'm going to etch out some of this. Just dipping into the paint, get some nice darks and contrasts. Bit of reflection there. Right, I'm going to put some rocks in there. Okay, well, that's quite an interesting start. Some red, sienna, bit of blue in here, so that when you etch with the card, it actually shows. I'll go back to the whites. If you put your colours too thin, it won't show as a rock, which is what we're trying to do. I'll show you that in a moment. Some green. Okay, right. Just following the brush. I'm not thinking of anything in particular. It's a sort of abstract. Right, card. I'll start having some fun with it, so let's. Great fun, you can overdo this. And why not? Put some down here, we can put some trees, scrubby. It all adds a bit of interest, bit of texture. See, the darker you put the background in, the greater contrast you get between the scraped paint and what's left, what it leaves. Oh, we can do some, might be able to put some reflections of that. And this is where it will show. Let's just because it's dark, you see, so I put a lot of colour in this. Smaller as you get into the distance. There we are. Nice bit of texture. We've got our colours, and I can put a bit of that colour in on here. Right, now all we need to do is a bit of detail. I could put a bit of detail on there, but I don't know. Let's put some little boats in, I think. I'll use the 1/2 inch flat, just dampen, make it damp, and then a bit of blue. There. Okay, then we'll have a bit of a black hole, or a Payne's grey hole. Right, we can put in some masts. Okay, all helps add a bit of interest. Right, I'll put in a few masts now. I'll use my inch flat, dampen that, and we might put some figures in. And I might put a bit of white on that background. It's not really dark enough, but not to worry. Ooh. Well, I hope you've all had a good Christmas, and oh, that's not together. Let's put a bit of a sail on that. It's got a bit thick there. Don't really like that. That's not very good, is it? Right, that'll do for that. That's a bit of a mess. We're just too thick with that mask, so I've tried to put a bit of a badly furled sail up there. Okay, get back to Hake. I want to put some of that cloud shadow, which didn't go in very light in the first instant. Same colours as I used before. Payne's grey, bit of Payne's grey, and the alizarin. Okay, a bit more grey in that, I think. Right, that'll do for that. Right, I was going to use some white, wasn't I? So I've got my little tube of gouache white. So it's getting very hard now. I'm going to have to change it now. So I'll just put a little bit on my brush. A bit thick, that is. Just about shows. Let's just put a little bit of detail on there. Yeah, well, we'll have to let that go, I'm afraid. Right, I'll let that go. I think this is coming up to the last painting I should do this year, and I think the last month I'm a bit painted out. There's not a lot I can say at the moment again. So let's put in some birds in that sky. Right, some figures. Where should we put some figures? Carrots, as Frank Clark would say. That's not a very good carrot. Right, well they're little figures, aren't they? I'll do, right, I don't think there's much I can do with that one. Let's take the mount off. I'll put the mount on. Just looking for a bit of wide masking tape. In the melee, it's vanished, so I'll use a bit of this just to hold the painting on the board. So I'll put a signature in it. Okay, well we'll sign it. It's probably just about worth it. That's okay. So that's just one for 2 days after Boxing Day, second day after Boxing Day. So just a very simple Lakeland scene, not one of my better efforts, I have to say. Hope you enjoyed the tour around the studio and looking at Janish's portrait of me. Tried to turn me into a bit of a Sean Connery. Very kind of him. Right, well, if you're worried about copying, you're free to copy everything I do, but if you sell it, you've got to at least put your signature on it. Or it may be attributed to Dave Usher, but you're welcome to copy. I've learnt from copying. We all do. Copy those that have gone before. And then you will develop your own style, your own painting language. My skies are mine. They don't look like anybody else's. Everything about that is original to me, but it's based on a long learning curve of copying and learning how to texture to make things interesting. This is a bit muddy here, and that went wrong on the mask there. But the background's okay, probably could have continued that there. But I didn't want the background to interfere or compete with the foreground, really. So I'm reasonably happy with that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.